Sabrina Maddeaux is a very, very popular political commentator in Canada. And she joins me now. And she's here because not only is she popular, she's very smart about things. But before that, please donate, keep this on the air, and subscribe. So Sabrina, you wrote an article in The Hub recently about TFW. And I talked to people, they don't even know, most people don't know what it is. So the foreign worker issue, tell me about it.
Yeah, specifically it's the Temporary Foreign Worker Program, or TFW, and it was a program that was expanded hugely a couple years ago by the Trudeau Liberals. And the part that was expanded specifically was the low wage stream. So when we're talking about that, we're talking about everything from administrative assistants to retail workers.
Pizza delivery, the people that serve your coffee at Tim Hortons, because of supposed labor shortages coming out of the pandemic. Right.
The problem is that these labor shortages don't appear to have really existed, and instead this program's been used as a wage suppression scheme. So what we've seen as a result of opening up the floodgates and essentially allowing uncapped low-wage temporary foreign workers to come into the country is we've seen spiking unemployment, especially for youth, because it's the youth that usually go to work at Tim Hortons as their part-time job or during the summer, right, or work in retail. And the youth unemployment rates are soaring right now, which is of major concern. And then wages haven't been rising either, especially in these sectors. So we've essentially been subsidizing labor.
But those are good jobs for university students, high school students who work at Tim Hortons. There's nothing wrong with that. That shows you how to work.
There's nothing wrong with that in general. I mean, for years you were able to be, for example, a cashier in a grocery store and make a good living off of that. I was a cashier when I was in university at a grocery store, and there were women who had been there working full-time for years, and they had good lives, they could afford a home, they could afford a family, but that doesn't exist anymore because wages haven't kept up. And the problem is, again, we've been subsidizing employers rather than forcing them to compete on wages.
So why doesn't the government stop it?
Well, that's the key question.
Are there a lot of votes in there? People are going to say, oh, you let me into the country and thank you. All I saw recently was that they're going to try to transfer these temporary workers into full-time workers.
I think it's a combination of things. First, I think they gave in to the business lobby that came crying to them wanting more workers, that they could pay very low wages. Yeah. And in some cases, they could exploit as well. Because again, these are temporary workers and their visas are tied to their specific job, not the industry. So they can't leave their job if they're being abused, if they're not being paid well. There have been cases of sexual exploitation. I mean, it's a really bad deal on both sides of this issue, both for Canadians who are already in the country, but also for many of the newcomers themselves. And then on top of that, you have the liberal ideology that more immigration is always better. And it doesn't matter if it's sustainable, it will just always be better. But now we're seeing the impacts of that, whether that's on the labor market, wages, housing. I mean, it's all coming back to roost because while immigration can obviously be beneficial, and it has been a Canadian strength for years, the way that they just opened the floodgates without any thought to policy or sustainability, I mean, now we're seeing the results.
3 minutes, and thank you very much, Sabrina. To those of you who have subscribed and donated, a heartfelt thank you. You're keeping us on the air. If you're watching and you haven't, please try to do so, because 4 years ago we started this show because there needed to be independent analysis. Now more than ever, with the Online Harms Act, once that gets into law, it's been passed once by the House, there are going to be hundreds of bureaucrats censoring the news in Canada, censoring this show. We need to keep it on the air. Thanks for your support.